Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Impress with number 86 in this series Viewers Games. This one is from Bas, it is his turn. Hello, my name is Manuel, but my friends call me Bas. I decided to send you a game with an easy lesson. Everybody needs to concentrate. In this game I was playing against a candidate master. 3 minutes per player per game on Lichess, but we were talking about books. I asked if How to Win with E4 was a good book. He says no, because the School of D4. And a small talk more. So I know that in this game my opponent did not go full force. Cheers from Mexico. Bas is from Mexico. Let's have a look at Bas's game. 3 minutes per player per game. It's a blitz game. Bas opened E4. His rating on Lichess at the time this game was played was 1622. And his opponent had 2241, 600 points of a difference. Knight f6, black plays the Aljochen defense, and Bas plays e5, kicking the knight straight away, knight d5, and here d4 is the main move, and c4, the move played by Bas, is the second most popular move. Knight b6 and d4. What is this Aljochen defense all about? White has a very impressive center. Black has only played with his knight. And even though this is against all the rules we learned when we started to learn the game, this is playable. Black is now going to attack White's center, claiming that it's not as impressive as it looks. d6, attacking the center. E takes, c takes, knight f3 developing, and g6. Knight c3 from Bas. And here bishop g7 is the most logical move, also the most played move in the database. You play g6 to then play bishop g7, but in the game that bishop will never get to that square. Black decided on bishop g4 instead. h3 kicking the bishop, bishop takes, queen takes, white is hitting b7, and black solves that problem by playing knight c6, a developing move, and at the same time taking queen takes b7 out of the position. c5 from Bas, d takes, and knight back to d7, attacking the c5 pawn. But Bas ignores it. Nice move, bishop c4, ignoring the attack on c5 and counter-attacking f7. Queen takes f7 would be checkmate. Knight de5 was black's response. The knight shows its unique strength, forking two pieces, the queen and the bishop, and protecting f7. Queen e4, white saves his queen, and f5, attacking the queen again. Queen e2, the queen has to keep protecting the bishop, and black decides to take the bishop. Queen takes, and queen d4, offering a trade of queens. Bas accepts the offer, although I'm not sure if Bas is the way you pronounce it in Mexico. Maybe Baz. I don't know. I'll keep calling him Bas. Sorry about that if I got your name wrong. Maybe I should call you Manuel. That's much easier. Okay, queens were swapped and Manuel castled. e6 and bishop e3, missing that this pawn is hanging and that black can take it. White is attacking black's knight, but by taking the pawn, the knight will be protected. And that's what black played. Black has won a pawn. Now it looks for a second that you can bring black in trouble here with knight a4, attacking the bishop, and that bishop has to keep protecting the knight. But then there is knight e2 check. And because of the check, black solves his problems of the bishop and the knight. After bishop takes e5, Bas played b4, attacking the bishop. Taking the pawn is not good because you're losing a piece. So black decided to drop back to b6. He has to keep protecting the knight. a4, threatening a5, and the bishop has to flee, and then his knight will be hanging. So a6 makes sense so that the bishop can go back to a7. Rook a d1, putting more pressure on the knight, and rook d8, protecting the knight. a5, bishop drop back, and black has a healthy extra pawn. You cannot really use the fact that this knight is pinned. There are no more white pieces that can attack the knight. Knight a2 from Bas, and that is a strange move. It's not a good move. It's not clear where Bas is rerouting his knight to. Later we'll see the knight returning to c3. King f7. To connect the rooks, get this rook into play. Bishop g5, hitting the rook on d8. Rook d7. And here a blunder from Bas, which is okay in a 3-minute game. He played bishop f4. And that's a bad move because of... Do you see it? Yes, indeed. We have a fork. A good old knight fork. Picking up a piece, winning the bishop. But black did not see it. He played rook h8, doubling his rook on the d-file. King h1. Now Bas spots the fork and he moves his king away so that the fork is no longer there. Knight e2 anyway. Rook takes d7 check. Rook takes and bishop c1, saving the bishop. e5, bishop b2 and e4, pushing his extra pawn. Knight c3, the knights were swapped, and bishop d4. Black is trying to swap pieces to get into a winning rook endgame. Bishop takes, and rook b1. Not a great move to make, but otherwise the b pawn is lost, and black would be 2 pawns up. King e6, it's important in endgames to play with all your pieces. The king is an important piece in the endgame, it has to play. King g1, white thinks the same, and f4. Black has a great position, his rook is more active than white's, his king is more active than white's, and he has an extra pawn. And on top of that he has 600 rating points more. King f1, and now king e5 is a very logical move, and black is winning. But black makes a mistake. He's too hasty with e3. But the clock must have been ticking away in this 3-minute game. No time to think. This is move 35, and usually in a 3-minute game both players are very low on time at that stage. And why is it a bad move? Because the pawn is now lost. F takes e3, F takes e3 and king e2. How to protect the pawn? The king is too far away. You can play rook d2 check. You lose the pawn, but you win the g2 pawn. But then b5, and white has good counterplay for the pawn. But after king e2, black did not play rook d2 check. He played a strange move, rook e4, protecting the pawn that way. But rook b3, and now the pawn is attacked twice. And white will win his pawn back. You can still try king d5. Then rook takes e3 would be a huge blunder because of rook takes, king c4. That pawn is lost, and this is a winning king and pawn endgame for black. So let's go back. After king d5, you should not take on e3. That's a big blunder. You should play rook d3 check. And after king c4, you can go to d7 with counterplay, with good drawing chances for white. But after rook b3, which wins back the pawn, black played rook e5, another strange move. Not sure what that move does. Bas takes on e3, and we go into a king and pawn endgame, which is drawn, but both players must have been down to seconds and must have played a lot of pre-moves on Lichess, which explains some strange king moves, as we'll see. King d5, king d3, king c6, and here king c4 is a very logical move to get the king more active. Bas plays g3 instead. It does not spoil anything. The position is still drawn. h6, h4, king b5, king c3 to protect the b4 pawn, and g5. A pair of pawns was swapped, and g4. King back to c6, king b3, and what is more logical here than to play king d5? But it must have been a pre-move. Black played king d6 instead. The position is still drawn. King c3, king c6, king c4, king d6, and king d4. Now black has to be careful, but of course there is no time to be careful. b5 or b6, those two moves still keep the position in the balance, but black played king d7, And that's a losing move. That cannot be right. The king backwards. And now any king move to the 5th rank wins for white. But Bas also must have been down to seconds. And he probably pre-moved this move as well. He played king e4. And after king e6, the game is in the balance again. But black did not play king e6. He played king c7. Undoubtedly another pre-move. And now white wins. Now it's easy. King f5, king d7, and we'll just play through the moves. White is going to promote his pawn, and black's counterplay on the queen side is just much too slow. g7, b4, Bas has a queen, a new queen, b3, queen g1. That's the easiest way to win a position like this. If you can occupy the promotion square with your new queen, then it's very easy. King a4, queen b1, king b4, king e6, and black lost on time. And of course he's also losing on position. But if white had overstepped the time limit, black would have won because he has still mating potential with these two pawns. That's a drawback of playing games without an increment. But it is a good adrenaline rush, and that's why many players love to play without an increment. 3 minutes per game or even 1 minute per game, which is called bullet chess. Thank you very much, Bas. You beat an opponent with over 600 points more and you still had time to talk about chess books while playing. Very impressive. You played very well and grabbed your chance in the rook endgame when black made a mistake. Thank you very much for sending me this game so I could share it with the Chess to Impress community. Hope you enjoyed Bas's adventure in this game. If you would like your game to be analyzed on Chess to Impress, you can send it to me by email to classroomchess64@gmail.com. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the Chess to Impress channel and please leave a comment. If you liked the video, if you liked the Viewers Game series, it would be great if you could share it on social media by clicking the share button on YouTube. This is Rick for Chess to Impress. Thank you for watching.